Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Traffic Talk match review. It's another special show. Wish it was special, but doesn't reflect the mood on this Valentine's Day that I have, unfortunately. How do we explain this one? Well, it had the possibility of being a very awkward game, and sure enough, it turned out to be that way. But we did this to ourselves, really. We did this to ourselves. So 1-1 draw. United struggle again to break down a team that were really difficult in defence to beat. Had a very decent midfield, pretty much stifled us in the first half. But the one of the annoying elements, and there's a lot of them about today's game, is not being brave enough to take on a team in the bottom three for what is now the second time that we've had this problem. We've played the bottom three now I think we've played all of them now twice. So I think only Fulham is the last of the bottom three teams we have to play this season. But we've now played 5 matches against them, and we're yet to pick up a victory. And really, I'm positive that we don't have the capacity to play the football that we look like we can play. Numerous times today, I saw the shape look very awkward against what looks a more organised West Brom team. We were static. We were very unwilling to go forward. In the first 40 minutes, I saw nothing to convince me that we were anywhere near as good as we should have been in these games. And now we have to just question everything that's happened today. Mehdi's in the call. I'll get him to come in a moment. But just before I do, I will stress, we are live on YouTube and on the old Twitter. So if you are tuning in, please hit the like button on YouTube and follow and hit subscribe if you want more content like this. And if you're on Twitter, retweet, like, and follow. So yeah, here comes Mehdi now, my regular guest. I'm sure will share the same thing as me as to how annoyed I am about this result. Honestly, before I ask you anything, I have to stress this was the first thing I did today. I did nothing else. Nothing. I slept through. I set my alarm for 5 minutes before kickoff.
Same.
And then here we are. I go through it's not healthy to go through the emotional roller coaster I went through this afternoon, and to sit here now and be disappointed again. It just tells you, it just tells you how far behind we are from being anywhere near a side capable enough of beating even a team in the bottom three. I mean, Randy, what do you think? I'm a loss for words, really.
We created 0 big chances against West Brom. We failed to keep a clean sheet against West Brom, and people are getting it twisted because West Brom could have actually won that game. They had, I think their striker, I can't pronounce his name, but he could have had a hat-trick. This game reminded me of the first game against Palace. The only difference is Palace actually took their chances. We in the Palace game as well. We failed to create any big chances. I keep saying this. We have this many creative players on the pitch. The blame has to go to Oli. Yes, the players made a mistake. Yes, Lindelof made a mistake. We've addressed that. He's still picking him. Bailly was on the bench. You have the choice to pick him, and you're picking Lindelof. If he's making mistakes week in, week out, why would you still pick him? It just doesn't make sense. So this is what I'm saying. The blame has to go to Oli. He's the one selecting the team. Yes, the players might be letting him down, but how can you not create any chances? No, 0 big chances against West Brom. They're in the relegation zone. We've dropped points now to Sheffield United and West Brom. And we were lucky against Fulham, if we're being real. We could have got a draw in that game. They could have scored that last minute against where it went off Bailly, but we got lucky.
I did just say at the start of the show, before you came in, 5 matches against the bottom 3 teams this season. We beat Sheffield United at their place. We beat West Brom at home. But the 3 matches, and Fulham at their place. But there's the 2 matches since we have dropped points against Sheffield United and West Brom. This team, unfortunately, are incapable of. It's no matter what time of the year it is, or what weather your situation you're in. The conditions play a part in the game, yes, but today I will not blame the fact that it rained, or the pitch was slick, or it was too cold, or it was too windy for these players failing to be able to break down a team in the bottom 3. What this demonstrates here is that we are seeing a team, obviously, first of all, lacking energy a little bit. I understand they played 120 minutes on Tuesday night, but they still had more than enough time to prepare for this game. They have played West Brom already this season at home in the league and struggled to break them down and win only by scoring a penalty. But out the context of the rest of that game, they didn't really let anything past them. So today, they almost employed exactly the same plan. So what annoys me is now I'm considerably worried. What is the Sociedad score? Because I was very critical about today's game. If United don't perform today, we're not going to go far in any competition, let alone the Premier League, if we play like this.
That's what I've been saying.
And I'm just looking for it now. What are Sociedad doing today? They're playing in the La Liga. They won 1-0 today against Getafe. They will be skyrocketing in confidence on Thursday night. Absolutely skyrocketing in confidence. I will watch this game back as well. Not just our game, but this game against Getafe. Because I learned so much against Cadiz that we will not be able to deal with them in some aspects. I'll cover all of that in the preview. Urge you all to please watch it if you want to understand what more that we might have trouble of dealing with in terms of Real Sociedad, because they're doing such a great job in the league. Because today has exposed United for their inability under pressure when being the team on the front foot at points they're not converting chances when they're on the front foot. They're not putting an effort in to sort of stifle their opposition. They're not doing enough to demonstrate to us or to Manchester City, who put the gauntlet down again last night, that United, United, you've got your opportunity now to just come a bit closer to us. Go and get it. Go on. We'd set it up for you by beating Spurs for ourselves. We could be 10 points clear midweek this week. So we could be sitting in Turin on Wednesday night, and Manchester City, by the end of the game, could be 10 points clear of Manchester United. And although we're not in, I've said it once and I'll say it again, we're not in the title race. There's so many people that are doing incredibly silly things to try and draw United's name into it. And I'm not accepting this. I feel like the next game must be the progressive must be the next game. I take the European games very seriously because as a club, we represent values that are, in terms of European football, I value it that we have values in European football that are, held up on history and doing very well in these competitions. So I take Thursday's game much more seriously than I did today's game because I care about the Europa League more than I cared about West Brom today. But a bit naive from my point of view. I'm still fuming. I'm still not happy. I'm still disappointed that this game did not go the way I expected it to. So let's talk about the first goal, which came after 2 minutes. First of all, Manchester United have been drilled. I bet you now they've been drilled all week regarding balls into the box, no matter how they come in. Free kicks, corners, or crosses from either wing or from the edge of the penalty area. However they come in. I'm sure United have been drilled this week on how to defend them. So it was stressed in commentary by Gary Neville. United pushed up, and that was the first thing that they did right. That's probably the only thing they did right, because the next thing they did, the ball comes back into the box, they drop, but don't shift outwards. That allows the opportunity for the striker in Diagne to get ahead of the man and nod it into the net. So I must ask, first of all, what are they doing?
I don't know. It's like sometimes You just gotta stick to the basics of defending. Lindelof done well to get his body in the way, but then he's forgetting about the ball. You have to clear the ball. You can't just get your body in the way. I don't know. I don't think Lindelof's good enough. I said it against Everton, and Maguire as well. What was he doing? I think it was in the second half. He's trying to buy a free kick, and then
I saw what you mean, but just focus on this one for a minute, mate.
yeah, Lindelof. He just has to stick to the basics. Like the crosses coming in, we know what West Brom they want to get crosses into the box. Just clear the ball. Like you look at the likes of Vidic, Ferdinand, even like Johnny Evans at sometimes. Like just clear the ball. Put your foot through it. If you're not confident, just kick it out either side. There's no point trying to play it safe and trying to win possession back because they're attacking us, and I'm not confident in his abilities because he's too soft. He's always too soft. So just clear the ball.
It's annoying. That's why I'm also made it incredibly frustrating is last week against Everton. Similar again. I hate bringing up the last minute, but this is what happened. A similar sort of ball in, not dealt with at the front post. I know it's over the fullback's head this time. I know it's deeper than the ball that Everton dealt with in the last minute, but still, United didn't make the shift out of the box. Should have done that. If anything, to avoid letting this goal go in. You leave the striker in the penalty area on his own, offside, if you push up the field. That's annoying. I hate to see that when my team doesn't push up the field. I did the non-league game yesterday. I commentate on Sutton United for most of my time, and I've seen them rigorously drilled. I know it's a lower level, but it's just simple basics. If you're going to defend crosses into the box, either win the header, be better than your man in the penalty area, or shift out so you can catch them offside. I had the option of two. Lindelof is not strong enough in the air. He's easily targeted. It's been demonstrated numerous times this season that strikers with height will come after him because aerially he is not as dominant as Maguire is when it comes to the balls coming over the top.
Even Bay would have got rid of that ball.
I think Bay wasn't fit enough. I know he was on the bench and he would have been suitable, I think, for this game. He would have been a suitable player for this match. But I think he wouldn't have lasted more than half. Like, if you were trying to get him for 90 minutes, he wouldn't have lasted half an hour. So I would have, I wouldn't have risked him playing today. And I will see him on Thursday. Why? Because Spanish opposition, different Solana. He's played against Sociedad before. I expect him to start that game. But no doubt, he's the better defender. He should start that game. I'm absolutely certain of that.
We all know he's the better defender, but I don't think Oli trusts him at times.
Well, he gave him 4 matches in the mid-start part of the season, and United were successful in every single one of them. So I can't. I mean, not particularly from you, but I don't want to hear it from other fans who are critical of Bailly normally when he makes mistakes or makes rash decisions. It's because he takes the risks as a centre back. Yes, he has frailties in his game, but at least sometimes they come off, which is why I enjoy watching him play. With Lindelof, he has, I think, one of the few traits that most defenders have, which is playing with the ball at his feet and more or less doing the outside of the box work. When it comes to being inside of the box, he's a lot better. Outside of it, he struggles to get past the get on goal with one-on-ones. I'm struggling to think of words to say here for him. I'm struggling to think of words to say. He should have been either way. He should have done better. It's not a foul on him in the first instance anyway, because you're just being overpowered by the striker who's on you. You should do either. You should be stronger in that situation, or I don't know, give away a penalty. At best, you don't want to be overpowered by the attacker behind you. And while giving away a penalty is not the most attractive way of stopping a goal going in, it kind of saves face for him because he would look a bit clumsy and stupid. But in the end, he will learn from that mistake, knowing that the only way I'm going to get better than him today is to be more physical and more aggressive against him. And today, on numerous occasions, he did not demonstrate that trait in any aspects for me. So that's just the reality of it. And on top of that, the cross you should never allow the cross to come in the first place. I thought we were better at marking out balls going into the box. I thought we were better than this, but clearly it hasn't been that way.
Yeah, we struggle. We struggle against teams that put crosses into the box.
Yeah, good luck against Sociedad on Thursday. They love putting balls into the box. Isaac is a tall striker.
Their striker, Isaac.
Isaac is a tall striker. He's like Diagne. Difference is he's got pace as well, so he can burst into the space. Unlike Diagne, he's a little bit clumsy with the way he runs, or sometimes. And we'll come on to his opportunities in the second half shortly, but that annoys me. That really annoys me. That the consistency of United's inability to deal with balls into the box like that, it will continue to plague our season. So, we'll go on to what was the only positive about today's game, and it's Fernandez's equaliser. It took United 40 minutes to play football today, apparently. It's 40 minutes to play a game of football. They stood off their opposition. They couldn't do anything. Look, there are days where I don't criticise Fernandez. Today, I will not criticize. Again, today's one of them. I won't criticize him again. He was more or less being marked out of the game, in the sense that his role, essentially, playing in the middle of three in the attacking quartet, is to play in the space and create something for the men in front of him. Today, Yakuslu was in front of him, and he literally couldn't get either side of him. If Yakuslu goes back into the defense, he literally makes it so much easier for his teammates, because Fernandez then has little to no options in front of him. So to flick the ball up, he will have trouble. To be able to slide the ball in, he will have trouble. He will make it. It's going to be hard on him. Des is joined the call, so I'll bring him in so he can add his scores. Well, hello, Des. Welcome. Nice to have you here. We're just coming across to the equaliser, but before we do, we did cover the first goal. I just want to quickly get your thoughts on Manchester United's inability again to defend crossing.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
We were just talking about the equaliser, but we've also been talking about the first goal. How have you been? How do you feel regarding United's inability yet again to defend crosses? And what annoyed you about conceding such a goal like that?
Yeah, I think that goal was purely a mistake from Lindelof. Over the years, we've said this over time and time again, and we're still saying the same thing. Lindelof is not physical enough to consistently compete with Premier League players. I mean, he was just bullied by Diagne. There was nothing special in what Diagne did. He came in front of Lindelof and he outmuscled him. It's just sad that the same thing is still happening. I can remember a game in 2017-18 season. I mean, when we finished second in the league, there was this game against Huddersfield. I think, the relegation Huddersfield, they beat us 2-1, and this was exactly what happened. The striker outmuscled Lindelof, and he scored. So, I mean, we're still talking about these same things right now, and it's just pretty sad. Sad, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the match you're referring to, actually, it was 1-0 to West Brom that day. That game gave City the title, and we were poor that day. West Brom scrambled the one goal from Rodriguez, and Lindelof, as you say, was overpowered in that situation, like that. But like it was back then, he was overpowered today. So it doesn't surprise me that this has happened. The second thing we were talking about was the Fernandez equaliser. We've probably built up a bit of a discussion in regards to United's performance, but it's the only good thing that happened in today's game. And that's more or less from after 40 minutes of being really static and lacking in any urgency to really get back into the lead or back in the match, or to go out and just rush West Brom into submission. We more or less just limped our way back into the game. So Fernandez scored a great goal, credit where it's due for that. But we were just discussing now that he had a hard time dealing with Yakuslu, who's the new signing from Celta Vigo, who sat in the back behind the four midfielders. He pretty much stifled him, didn't allow him to get any real chances in the game. So once he went into the back four, he became five. He had little to no passes to play either in front of him or over the top, because they would deal with it. So he's having to now just wait until the opportunity comes from Shaw to hook it into the top corner. He deserves that. It's a great goal. But the build-up to that play was just, again, it looked a little bit more, the word I'm looking for, a little bit more...
individual brilliance.
Thank you very much.
I think no, it was a very good goal. The technique to get that on target even, but he put it into the top corner. I think the first half he was poor apart from the goal, but I think second half we saw it because he was being marked out of the game. He had to drop deeper to receive the ball and play from there. But I think second half he was much better. His decision making and his passing was much quicker. But once again we just didn't create enough. And at times Bruno in the first half we could have done better to maybe instead of flicking around the corner, keep the ball at your feet and then open up and then play either one of the wingers, and then we can go from there. But what can we do?
I struggle really. Des, how about you? It was a great goal, but could the United have just done more of that in the first half instead of just be so static for 40 minutes?
Yeah. I mean, as you said, for the first 40 minutes, we offered nothing. Yeah, we controlled possession, we controlled the ball for the first half, but we didn't really penetrate. And it's what I've been saying. I mean, I was talking to Cameron earlier today. Arguing with him that how sustainable is how can we continue to rely on the genius of Bruno Fernandes, Cavani. They'll come up with their special world-class performances here and there, and and win us a game. It's not just sustainable. I mean, this Ole is going on 2 years now at United. Can you categorically say Ole has actually shown that he has put in a system in this United side? I mean, we've seen other teams lose one or two players, and the team continue to play in a particular way. At United, it's just not there. I mean, people will always say Guardiola has the best squad in Europe and all that, but they just lost KDB, and much of the season they've not played without a striker. They played Ferran Torres there up top. Yet we can see that other players can actually go in there and drop good performances just because they've been drilled in a particular system. At United, I don't just think it's so. And thanks to Bruno for that special volley. If not for that volley, I mean, we're losing this game 1-0. That's just sad.
Yeah, what we have to consider as well is in terms of our opposition today, they are 12 points out inside the relegation zone, so they are a considerable distance away from safety. And the teams outside of them are playing, even though they are struggling in that mid-table area, are playing just well enough to keep them in there. So for us to be struggling against that trio of teams in more or less every game we played against them this season, it tells you that United still lack the experience and the overall confidence to go out and just smash these teams the way that you expect them to if they're high and flying high in the table. So when it comes to what you mean regarding to the manager, I think I'll save that for the end. I want to keep talking about the match first because there's still a lot about the game that makes me very annoyed before we talk about the manager and specific elements of the game. So we'll move on to the second half first. Obviously, the first half ended the way it did. Talking about that, actually, we had the Everton shambles last week, ended after 94 minutes, I think it was. So expected the final whistle to go last week, 3-2 win, great. No, it goes up the field, foul given by Twanzebe. Get a free kick, scored the equaliser. Today, United go on the counter attack, and then what happens? He blows the whistle. So it's okay for one situation to blow for the game to continue, and then in the other situation, it's okay for the referee to blow the whistle when when United have 4 players going on the counter attack, and they are actually more or less against two defenders. They're actually going to be able to score and make it 2-1. So honestly, I feel like our luck in terms of refereeing decisions has turned against us there, boys.
I don't think we can really complain because it happened for us as well against Liverpool when Liverpool were through in the league game. But I get what you're trying to say because against Everton, the ref should have blown the whistle and we should have got a 3 points. So just need to be consistent.
Mm-hmm. I don't mean to bring that excuse up, but the reason I bring it up is because lack of consistency, really. If United are on the counter attack, you'd still, even if you're like a ref, I know he sympathizes with the team going on the attack and having to blow the whistle. It's his job. And I don't disagree with it, but I still feel like, as a fan, I still feel you should still just shithouse it a little bit. Just let it
Can
go.
I
Let it
just
go.
say,
Rattle it.
in the Arsenal game against Wolves, where Wolves got the penalty before half time, they actually went past the injury time. So that's what I'm saying about it being consistent, because if this was on another day, then the ref would have let the play on and we probably would have scored.
I'm frustrated about that. Des, how about you? Did you take that?
Yeah.
For me, I'd consider that as a matter where the referee blows up when we're about to go on the counter-attack to be something that would have led, if had he continued, United could have gone on to say make it 2-1. But in the end, he blew up for half-time. I know it's obviously, as we said, contradictory to the two other scenarios in regards to United in terms of Liverpool and Everton, but
Yeah. I think Craig Pawson was blatantly wrong there. You know, we were on the counter and few seconds had already passed the 47th minute. I mean, it all comes to referee's discretion. You're supposed to just use his head and allow these guys make use of their chance. And if eventually nothing comes out of it, then he blows the whistle. It's as simple as that. I mean, we saw the frustration from Bruno and Tony Marshall at the end of the half. They were absolutely furious, shouting on the ref. So that was a very poor decision from Pawson.
Absolutely, and I have to again stress that this cannot continue. It needs to be consistent. I think it's annoying that a video game are a bit more smarter than actual referees or real football in some sense. They updated FIFA, which I don't like bringing up this idea, but they updated FIFA to allow goal scoring opportunities to be completed after the time is gone, right? And that's a video game. Okay, they can orchestrate their own rules and everything because it's their version of what the real game is. But at the same time, why not apply it to when United were in that situation? Okay, against Liverpool, maybe in that situation, United could have, had they gone behind, maybe with Hernandez or Mendes. But sometimes, the balance, saw that balance karma thing, could have bounced back our way. I don't know, but...
Yeah. But funny enough, though, I think the second game this season, the 3-2 win at Brighton, where the ref had already blown the full time, the game was already over, but he had to go and check the VAR. I think it was the same ref as well. It was Craig Pawson, so
it was him.
A lot of people, it was Craig Pawson. So a lot of fans would say, "Oh, okay, he had helped us before, and now he had a very poor decision." But generally, I think the refereeing standard in the Premier League this season has been a bit poor. There have been complaints from various fans. I mean, we saw what happened in the game at the Emirates, Arsenal against Wolves, where he did the ridiculous red card for David Luiz. So I mean, the refereeing has been very poor this season.
Yeah, no, it's not. I don't think poor is an understatement, honestly, Des. I think it's a long way beyond poor. It's actually shambolic, and I'm seriously considering that FIFA or UEFA should not take English officials to tournaments because they will not be consistent enough with the decisions that they make, and they don't demonstrate that enough. I would say if I'm watching the European games this week, if any English officials are picked to do these games, watch them closely and the decisions they make, because how they've conducted in the Premier League, they will have to conduct differently with UEFA matches. But at the same time,
you are very correct. I mean, we all expected English referees to improve after what happened in 2018 World Cup, when no English ref went to the World Cup. So we all expected them to get better over the years. And I mean, right now in the Euros, I don't expect any English ref to be there. UEFA knows what they are doing. Honest.
That's my point. And again, I would say watch closely any game in Europe this week that English refs are participating in, because it's more or less likely to get that game won't go as well as we'd hope it would. So I don't know who will go where, but I personally don't care too much for that. But to put my honest opinion,
probably only Mike Oliver. I think he's the only ref that you can really say he's as good as the rest.
Yeah, Pawson, Oliver, and Anthony Taylor are normally the three nominated referees for UEFA games because they all have that FIFA patch on their shirts. So they will probably be nominated. I'll give Chris Cameron as Europa League. But I'd still watch out this week in games that English referees are involved in. So still, consistency is needed. And I have to bring it up because it's just not good enough, especially in our game where we've pioneered so much into making it the modern game that is today, the refereeing standard is absurdly poor. It needs to be improved dramatically. So the second half, then United were again back in the game. Oli must have given them a right or whip around in the end of the first half because he was not happy, and I think he looked it. Again, obviously, he does have a bit of the blame for today's result. I will admit that. I have said before that if games don't go the way they should, the manager does have a role to play in that element of us analysing a result. So in second half, he must have given them a right old talking to. He must have told them to be quicker on the ball, hurry it up. Don't be so static like you were in the first 40 minutes. Just push them and try and break them into and force them into a mistake. And it looked for a little bit in that second half that we were on the verge of doing that.
Yeah, I think you already know my thoughts on Oli. I think even some individual players like Rashford, for me, I think he was all right today. I think what I want from a winger is for them to be direct, and he actually put in a couple of good crosses in, but there was no one really attacking him. I think Cavani, he was nowhere to be seen. Like, I don't blame him. I blame the service because he barely had the ball. And on the left, Martial was just non-existent. I think he needs to be benched for a couple of games. But overall, the team's performance, to not create any big chances, yes, the players have to take blame, but for me, it's majority of it's the manager because he's sent out the team, he's sent out the tactics, the style of play and everything. And for us to create zero big chances with that many attacking players on the pitch, it's unacceptable.
Does
I think generally today, in the second half especially, I think we got on the ball more, but still it all came down to the amount of chances we created in and around the box. I didn't really see the ball moving quicker to the box. I actually expected Ole should have made a change at halftime, maybe remove one of Fred or McTominay for Van der Beek. We
he
always
did bring on Van
that
der Beek, but
he did bring
later
on
than I think he should have done.
Yes, it was later on, but he should have done that earlier. I mean, that game was crying for someone who could just do the one-touch football, pass and move, pass and move, pass and move, and we're a bit static in midfield with McTominay and Fred. So I think Ole should have done better there by bringing in Van der Beek earlier. But I think there's a positive from the game. I think the positive is that Luke Shaw right now for me is the best left back in the Premier League.
Yeah.
I mean he has really come of age in the last few games. I've been doing very well. I think also Bruno Fernandes. I think Marcus Rashford as well. I don't really agree with Ole playing Rashford out on the right to accommodate Martial on the left because it doesn't really make any sense. Rashford is our best left-sided player. He's probably our best attacker. And the fact that Rashford is doing bits on the right is because Rashford is a very, very good player. And I just feel that doesn't really make any sense. Martial should be dropped. He has to earn his place back into the team. We can't just keep on accommodating him just because he's Martial, So yeah, that's what I think.
I think Greenwood needs a chance in this team. I think he needs to grasp the opportunity that is offered in front of him because of Martial's poor form. And he offers something a little bit different to what Anthony Martial does, especially because he's so poor recently up front. It shows that Ole's confidence in him as a striker this season is all but diminishing. It's getting like it's let's say the likelihood that we see Martial start up front in games now is so much less than we would have thought maybe last season when he was given a chance to play up front as the sole number 9. He gave him confidence. He gave him something to stress on him how important it is to be a striker. Very quickly, the 125 viewers, lovely to all have you here. If you are watching on YouTube or on Twitter, please like and follow us on Twitter or subscribe on YouTube. Really appreciate it. Martial really needs to get time out of this team. I think Greenwood offers something completely different, but it's something that United will need to make the most of in terms of him grasping this opportunity. He's probably the only player that really plays on the right now. Diallo didn't get picked for the team today, but my gut feeling is he'll get picked on Thursday for the team, not to start, but if anything, he'll come off the bench. He's playing in Europe this season. He's already got some Champions League experience, so I hope he has something like off the bench to offer United against Real Sociedad. But Yeah, Martial must be out of the team. I think today he showed again why we're losing as fans, losing confidence in him, why we're struggling to accepts that he is now becoming a bit part player in a decent attacking team, and his inability to be part of the link-up play with the likes of Greenwood, Fernandes, and Rashford is starting to slow everything down. It's starting to give United a huge problem in trying to attack on a consistent basis. It's greatly worrying for me. It really is. So I think we need to see the Frenchman bench.
I think with Martial, there's something I've noticed, since Martial has come to United. In the seasons where he didn't really have threats in his position up top, he has actually performed. And the 2 seasons he has performed were his first season under Van Gaal and last season. The first season under Van Gaal, I think his only rival up top was Michael Keane, and last season it was Odion Igalo. Then the seasons where he had Ibrahimovic, Lukaku, and now Cavani, we've seen that. So it begs the question: does Martial really have the mentality of a top player? Because if he cannot handle pressure, then come on, why is he still in United? So it's just really is a funny one.
It's not good. It's not good. Let's move on to a few more of the chances in the second half, because United were even still, despite having to deal with this incredibly hard defense in West Brom, and I think a unique version of a low block, created a couple of good chances. We had McTominay having a shot cleared off the line, Mason Greenwood hitting the keeper. I think more or less he would have been on target if he put it around the keeper's leg rather than into it, but I think it's a hard angle to aim from. I think we had the penalty that wasn't a penalty. I want to get your thoughts on each of those. Should those 2 opportunities have gone in, and was the Maguire penalty a penalty?
I think it was a penalty, but I think it was offside anyway, so I don't think it would have been given. But and the one that hit the post, I think it's a good try. I think the keeper might have just got a hand to it, so it's a good save from him. But I just want to see Maguire be more productive when we have set pieces, because he doesn't do that enough. Most of the times when the ball lands on his head, he either misses it completely or he just heads it wide.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly what Mehdi said about Maguire. I think he doesn't. His lift from the ground is not high enough. Like, he literally just stretches and uses the defender to rest himself, so he can raise his head up. So I think he's not very good, a good header of the ball. Like, a lot of fans would have expected him to be. I think the penalty as well. For me, it was a penalty, because Odion Ajayi stretched his leg and hits Maguire's left foot. So it was a clear penalty. But just before that, it was an offside. But generally, I think Maguire has to do more aerially here, for sure.
Yeah, it was offside. Very slender as it may have been. However, I look at it again, and yes, Ajayi does commit a foul, in my honest opinion. It's a difficult to look through when you're seeing the replays back, but your first thinking is has he held Maguire back enough? He probably has. Is there contact between legs? If it is, then Maguire loses balance. But in the general scheme of things, he does throw himself to the ground rather than looking to advance, try and get onto the header from the cross. So if he stays on his feet and Ajayi, who is marking him, doesn't commit the foul, I think Maguire gets the header and puts it across for whoever's at the back post instead of, falling to the ground the way he did. So, penalty, but offside anyway. They didn't check that apparently, which is strange. Maybe they thought, if we do give the penalty, we would then check if offside. But then I think that probably was what they were doing with that particular review. So we had those chances with McTominay and Greenwood. Maguire penalty turned away from VAR. So, okay, maybe in the end it was the right decision, because we would have got away with an offside. But in the end, it is what it is. And then very end, Maguire's header, as you said, he flashes them wide. He flashes them over the bar. But Johnson, I think that's a brilliant save. You can't say anything more than that. it's a great start, and it proves that he is one of the more underrated keepers in the league this season, despite playing for a team at the bottom.
Yeah, and it also shows that United consistently produce good goalkeepers from the academy. I don't think that's said enough,
Yeah,
but we
absolutely.
actually really produce good goalkeepers, to be fair.
Yeah, Tom Heaton and Johnson himself are good examples over the last couple of years who've gone on to play
And also
consistently.
Ben Foster as well.
Yeah, Ben Foster too. Many years back when he was an understudy to Van der Sar and Thomas Kuszczak, he still got his chances. And when he did, he played very well enough for our shirt. But he went on to would be more lucrative in his career with good clubs, and it's good on these guys as well. It shows that United's goalkeeping exports are solid. They may not make it at Old Trafford, but they make good careers for themselves for other clubs. And that's something that you can say, that if United can keep developing good keepers long after De Gea and Henderson are gone, then it's a good sign for the future ahead. But really, okay, so we've exhausted everything in the game as far as I'm concerned, because it was a very poor game generally. So now we will now go on to the manager, and I'm sure this is what you've been keen to properly talk about. I've refrained from doing so because I want to really assess the match before I go on to Ollie. Now, obviously, you will both know I am a staunch defender of the manager. I will believe in the values and his philosophy. I accept that people don't like that. I accept that there are cynics in the game who are United fans who do not like what Ollie does with this team. Personally, though, I think more of this is on the players than it is the manager at this moment. The manager does his best to set them up, but they do not go out and act on that sometimes. And this isn't a new situation for me in terms of putting the blame on those out on the pitch than it is on the man on the touchline. Yes, he's got the role of preparing the team. Yes, he is responsible for giving a tactical explanation of how to deal with this particular side. And yes, he has the responsibility of taking the criticism if things don't go right. And I think today he should take criticism for not preparing the team correctly enough for a game against a team in the bottom three of the Premier League, which is probably a demonstration of why we will struggle unless we've exhausted centre-backs all week, Mehdi. I think it's best we don't talk about it again. For those who want to know more about who you think we should sign, refer to the West Ham review in the last half an hour of the show. We talked a lot about that. It would probably be the best idea than us telling you all who we think should be there instead of Lindelof and Maguire. Because I'm almost tired talking about it. But reality is, this again is a problem where Ollie has again been tactically incapable of dealing with an aggressive team who are defensively sound and will not allow anything to come through. So today he has criticism on that front. But I think also a good amount of this should also go on some of the players on that pitch. So what do you guys think?
I'd say probably two players can take the blame today, Lindelof and I'd say Martial. Other than that, I think everyone else was average apart from Luke Shaw, Rashford, and maybe Bruno. But for me, I've wanted Ollie out since the start of the season. I wouldn't sack him now because if I'm the board, I know the board won't sack him now. I'd give him to the end of the season and then just sack him then, because I don't think we'll win a trophy. Personally, I don't think we'll beat Sociedad. I'm not confident against them. And in the FA Cup, Leicester, we just saw they won 3-1 against Liverpool. They're second now, I think, or the...
No, we are above them on goal difference, but yes, we are level on points.
Yeah. So I'm not confident in either competitions, but we're talking about tactically Oli, and I don't see a proper style of play. I see what he's trying to do. We're trying to get the ball out wide and crosses into the box, but it's not consistent enough. In different games, we play different. Like some games it's counter attack, some games it's just find the space. Like I don't see a clear plan. With other managers, like Guardiola, for example, you see all the time it's high press, win the ball back in the attacking third, and then go from there. Or possession, work the ball out to the wide, and then come in. It's slow build-up play from them, and they do it perfectly. With, like, for example, Klopp, not this season, obviously, but last season, they were going direct a lot and then picking up the second balls and then going from there. with us, we're not consistent with the style of play. We keep changing it and it's not working. That's the criticism I'd give Oli. Because if I can see a clear style of play week in, week out, then there's no reason for me to not back him.
Okay, Des?
Yeah, I have to agree with what he said. I'm not Ole's biggest fan. I think he hasn't imposed his managerial style in the squad. I think a lot has to do with the brilliance of the players, like I said earlier. If we look at when Bruno is not on form, if Bruno is not on form, we basically can't do anything, you know. And now today we missed Paul Pogba, obviously. Um, those are like the two players that are most important for us, you know. And yeah, looking at the rest of the season, we're out of the League Cup now. We're still in the FA Cup. I don't know if we're in a title race anymore because so many fans believe we have won the league in January, which was a bit naive, you know. And now look at where we are, you know. Yesterday I had this argument that Brendan Rodgers at Leicester City has actually done better than Ole has in the period that they've been there. They've been there since 2018. And to be very honest, he has actually imposed his style into that squad because they lost Harry Maguire. And at the time, many of Leicester fans expected that they were going to suffer, you know. And now, Harry Maguire has come to us. He has actually not made our defense better. Johnny Evans, who went there for about £4 million under Van Gaal, has actually taken them to just 7 points behind Manchester City, and they're ahead of us. So there are a lot of things from the transfers, from the coaching staff as well, which is another topic on its own. You know, we were so many fans were happy that we appointed Darren Fletcher, but what was really the rationale behind appointing Fletcher? What is he bringing to the coaching staff that Michael Carrick and then Kieran McKenna don't have? You know, there's just so many talking points here and there. But in a nutshell, I don't think Ole has done enough, to actually get us playing a defense system that will actually a lot of fans and rival teams, when they see us, they'll be scared. They'll be like, oh, this is how we are going to play. This is how these United guys are going to play. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. They are definitely. I don't see it. I just feel, it's Bruno and inshallah, as they say. Yeah.
Honesty is the best policy, I guess. Again, I have to try and play a balanced role here because on this channel, I don't want to think I am a favorite one side over the other. You've got to think a bit irrationally. I'll say it once, say it again. I'm a man who believes that the manager who's in the job right now is the right man. I think he's the man who knows what he's doing. He knows what he wants. But he has his days where he will have the finger pointed at him. And particularly when, in the last 7 days, United have had to sit back and watch the Glazers, parading silverware that they're proud of. They're proud of that instead of our football team. It demonstrates to you what their prerogative or their key interest is instead of focusing on the matter over here. I won't deflect it too much away from the management though. That won't have affected them. What happens over there happens over there. Ollie today will take. So for me, we'll have some of the blame. I know that for sure. Reason is because, as I stressed earlier, he has a lot of time to prepare this team. He has a lot of time to sort out the tactics. He has time to drill the players into submission on how he wants them to play and the setup he expects them to replicate on the grass when the game kicks off. And then you should have 110% from the first whistle to the end. And today, United didn't look like a team that were playing 110%. I think West Brom, had they scored the two Diagne opportunities, should have won the game because they were playing at 110%. So they're a team with more motivation than United today, which is annoying to say, but that looked the case. There also was the fact that you don't get the ball out towards Fernandes enough times, so you prevent that from being an outlet for United to exhaust against a weak, in my honest opinion, a weaker defense than what we're used to playing in the Premier League. So in preparation terms, maybe he misjudges. In fact, not even maybe, he misjudges the sort of task that United faced against West Brom. He's seen how Man City got through them. It took them a long time to get looks a long time to get the first goal. But once they got the first, they kick on. They get the second. They get the third. Leeds did the same. They one bad moment from West Brom, and they exploit that lack of confidence. They go on and score 3 and 4 and 5. This is a team that have conceded 55 goals in the Premier League this season. And the only time that Manchester United play against them, they can only score 2 in both games against the team that are in the bottom 3. At this point, it's the matter that is, I think, which urgently needs to be fixed, because we can't be great against the top 6 in terms of in terms of results, not like winning every game like we did last season. Obviously, we were brilliant against the top 6 last season. When we have the underdogs, in fact, when we have the underdogs tag, we're a better team. When the pressure's off us, we're a better team, because then we go out there with nothing to lose. Whereas when the pressure's on us, we're in the top 4. We're trying to retain that position, because if you get sucked into the race, from last season what could happen. This will then become a much more difficult season, and our running is not kind to us either. So if we don't, I felt like this is a missed opportunity for United in the league, in terms of gaining the points we need, but especially against Sheffield United, Everton, and West Brom, where under no circumstances should we have dropped the points that we dropped. However, the optimism I have is more or less placed on the fact that this this team can, on its day, be good enough to beat the majority of the teams below the top 6 in the Premier League. And maybe the odd occasion Arsenal aren't that good that we should beat them as well. But this manager has, I think what we're doing, what we're letting him have here is a very thin margin of error, because of the high expectations this club has, and the fans who support it have those high expectations weighing on them no matter what. And to be honest, the more that United struggle to pick results up against these sides in the bottom half of the table, the more you then think, is he up to the standards that he set himself when he took the job, to be the hardest working team, the highest goal scoring team, the team that doesn't quit, the team that keeps going until the very end? What annoys, and I think, yes, maybe, just maybe, United were in a title race. Just maybe United were in a title race. They were not a serious contender. They didn't look a serious contender to Manchester City. But maybe they were in a title race. Maybe they had the good enough form coming up to the game against Liverpool to just about, sneak it in case City did kind of mess it up somewhere in the middle and drop points against some teams on the way to the end of the season. What if, hey? What if? What if United still have 4 months left in the season? And I don't think even now we should think about the title. It's a long shot, that one. Because the more City play like they did yesterday, the more confident they are. They're seeking more than just a Premier League this season. For them, this is just a regular thing. For us, it should really be something we try and aim for from the get-go of every match. Go out, get 3 points, put the pressure on the other team instead of having the pressure applied to yourselves. Because if you keep playing with that pressure, you're not going to win. You're not going to get your points. And I think Oli has a burden on his shoulder right now in trying to keep these guys pressure, like going into games without that pressure. He has a burden on his shoulders. And I think he's going to have to find a way to solve it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think the players, they don't deal with the pressure, because if you look at ever since the media started saying, "Oh, we're in a title race," like our form's just been inconsistent. Other than that, I just don't see us performing well with this manager, like as in terms of success. Because yes, he's brought us up to second or third or wherever we are now, but his man management, Ollie's man management is brilliant. I think that's the one thing I can give him praise for, because he dealt with the Pogba situation very nicely, and he's good at keeping the fans, as in like a team that we can actually like, because I think this is the best team since Sir Alex Ferguson, as in the team that's brought us most entertaining football and a team that we can actually like. But apart from that, if we're talking about actual success, as in winning trophies and titles, I don't think he's the man, because I think he was actually brought in for a 2-3 year job. That's the contract they gave him, and I don't think for me personally, we shouldn't see him as the long-term option. I think he was brought in short-term deal to steady the ship, get the fans happy, maybe compete for like an FA Cup or Europa League, something like that, and then he'd go. But from what I'm hearing, they're gonna offer him a new contract, and I think that's the wrong decision.
Okay.
Because there's better options out there to take us to the next step to actually challenge for the title. Because I don't think we're ready to challenge for the title. We're in this position, but it's not like we deserve to be. Do you get what I'm trying to say? It's like we've just been thrown here, and they're like, yeah, you guys deal with it.
That's why I say maybe, because you just don't know.
Yeah.
You just don't know if United did stop being so inconsistent. Maybe they could have just been closer to City or above them for longer than where we were in January. I mean, we got up there on good form, yes, and a little bit of luck. However, it still doesn't change the fact that we have to be a lot more consistent if we're going to be in that sort of if we're challenging for league titles in the future. And again, we've spoken about strength, and we've spoken about numerous things. What should do to stop being inconsistent against the bottom sides. Look, you're gonna lose 2 or 3 games every once in a while if you're leading the race. That's fine. We understand that. The odd performance happens from time to time, and we've seen it numerous times with Ferguson's teams. You struggle away from home, maybe the conditions aren't great, or you just don't turn up on the day and you get the hair dry given to you. Fair is fair. You struggle on those days as fans. We criticize at the time. We let it go and move on to the next match. You know, when you should have a stronger mentality, a lot more urgency, and a more determined mood to go out and beat the team in front of you the next time. On top of the manager situation, why would the board appoint someone if they know right? He will only be he planned, the manager, not the board particularly, if the manager wanted to show that he had the long-term plan. And again, I am defending the case, but I'm trying to use your argument as a fair balance here. So yes, it may be in the instance of bringing him in the club, it's a short-term deal. It's a deal that will just plug the hole while we wait for an established name to come out and take the job later on, and we sit there and wait for a while. But what does Ollie do when he comes in? He realizes this is an opportunity for him as well. While United were doing the searching and looking for the key man, the right man, and the right staff to bring in to revolutionize their fortunes, at that time, Ollie will have seen it as an opportunity and said, I'm going to grasp it with both hands and try and make this team better than what they are. Let's just remember, yes, obviously, people will say he's a PE. Yes, he has lacked experience at a top level. Yes, he got Cardiff relegated. Yes, he's won the only league titles he's won is in Norway. It's a marked standard down on the Premier League, of course. But to think that, when he took the job, he'd only be there for he'd only be there for 4 months or 5 months, and then United will, after maybe at the end of the season, they'll bring in a new manager. But look what happens when he came in. Like I said, he saw it as an opportunity. He said it before when he was at Mulder. I wish to manage Manchester United someday. I wish to be able to control the team that I played for the way the manager who I was playing under did when he was in charge of me. I want to be able to show that I can use his philosophies in those games when we are struggling, or the moments when I've been on the pitch that made a difference. I want the players that I manage to do the same thing when they're on the pitch. So he sees it as an opportunity. So what does he do? He goes out. Go on, guys.
Okay, finish. Okay. I think we tend to overrate Ole's control of United. To be fair, yes, there's been a sense of calm, which every United fan can agree to. He has, tried to reduce the amount of negativity and toxicity in club. There are no rumors here or there of player clashes and all that. But I think there's one thing that Ole had that the previous managers didn't have. When Sir Alex left, Moyes came in, then Van Gaal, and Mourinho. These were all managers that were considered outsiders in quotes. They had no previous relationship with United. I think United fans were a bit tired with Luis Van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, so-called world-class managers that have come, but yet we've not seen a perfect progress, which so many fans expected. So Ole came with that wave. Yeah, he came as as an ex-player that he bleeds United. Is a legend. I think automatically he was just loved. So a lot of fans they were at that point, they were okay with, oh, if any guy comes in now, we are going to embrace. I mean, he can't do worse than the previous managers have done. So that was the wave that Ole rode on. And for the first 6 months, it worked. The new manager bounced. We knocked out PSG. We're flying high. Then all of a sudden, we went back to square one. So I think Ole rode on the wave of I'm sorry, I just got distracted by what the guy was saying there. Yeah, I just only rode on the wave that he there was no way United fans are already tired. There's no way they can get more tired than they already are. So yeah, that's honestly why I think. And so far this season, I honestly believe that if Manchester City has started the season the way they started the previous 2 seasons, I mean they would have run away with the league by now because for much of the season they've not played without a striker. And they've obviously missed KDB and all that. So yeah, if one of the reasons why, as you rightly said, Ahmed, we obviously played very well to be in a title race at that point in December and January, but also we also had luck, and luck was from Manchester City, being missing a couple of players.
Yeah, that's the point I keep bringing up sometimes when I watch this team. Honestly, when they struggle to really after they lose the lead, they struggle to be consistent. And the night they lost to Sheffield United showed that they are able to really just stop playing football properly and giving the fans something to hang on to, something to hope for. Anytime the goal is put down on United, whether it's a top 4 race or whether they are in the top 4 as they are right now, they're still not capable of taking the advantage and going on and trying to keep worrying the teams in front of them or the teams below them who need them to drop points to try and get above them in the league. I mean, when I go back to the point on the manager, the Singer's King has made a few points on who he thinks could be the manager. I brought up the Mourinho quotes he made as well, where the board didn't back him 100%. My point regarding this is, they were all established names per se. I wouldn't say Moyes is a completely established name because he did all his work in the Premier League at a top 7 team with Everton, keeping them high up in the league. He was picked by Sir Alex Ferguson. Now, I understand Ferguson had, his heart was in the right place, knowing that Moyes would take on the difficult task of trying to keep that team in the top 4 in the Premier League. But what the burden of the job got on top of him very quickly. And it's big shoes to fill when Sir Alex Ferguson is retiring and you're the next person being asked to fill it in. It's a really difficult task. So I understand he had it hard for the 9 months he was at United, but ultimately you need to be really good at your job to take this job and to be able to take on the absolutely insane weight of pressure that's given to you by the board, the fans, and the media as well, who have such high regard in a negative sense sometimes to United because of all the success they had running away with leagues in the early years. That's why nowadays United are seen as such a target for criticism. As fans, we are easy targets for rival clubs when we struggle. And that's something I can't stand. I can't stand it on a regular basis. That's why I'm happy with Ole as manager right now. If they offer him a new contract, personally, I think a lot of fans will hate the idea. But then you think on the other side of the coin, you have to remember, you need the club to be calm. You need the club to express patience instead of consistently going on and on with short-term fixes to a long-term problem. You can't keep signing big names in. Allegri comes into the team now. Maybe he improves the defensive unit. Maybe he starts to get the best out of Paul Pogba. Maybe this team plays a little bit better. But what happens if United are still outside the top 4 and still not capable of breaking into it? That just tells you that, again, and in fact, not just that, Mourinho struggled to beat the top 6 in his final season as United manager. Say Allegri can't beat City, Liverpool, and Chelsea, who I think are serious teams that we struggle to get results against. If we can't beat them, we really shouldn't have him as manager. Simeone is doing very well with Atletico Madrid. He has a system. He has something that he's very, very defensive. He sets his team up to give 110%. Half the players in his team, if he took over them, wouldn't be able to perform to the standards he's asking for them, and he'd sell them. And then it's like the same repetition. You're ripping up the system that a previous manager had and starting a new one. And then you're expecting it to work immediately. Instead, it will just take longer periods of time for it to establish itself. With Oli, right now, it took him a long time. I think it has, and I don't care what many fans think. I think it took him a long time to establish his system and his identity on this team. And to get the players that he needed, it took a long time as well. We've had to ride a whole lot of criticism. We've had to take a lot of flack. And somehow, we've also had to criticize the board as well for not helping the manager when he needs to help the most. They have a lot of the blame here. And I neglected to put this up when Seas King was messaging earlier on. But, okay, fair point. The Woodward and Glazers are out. We do need reform at the top. Because the reform at the top will definitely make life so much easier for United if either they were competent and went on and took a serious interest in trying to get the club back to the top of the league and consistently winning titles again, or they move aside, give someone else the reins, and let them work with the progress that Oli has made now. Because he will, if, let's say, United next season, not this season, are in the title race. They are, because Ollie's managed to bring the players that we want him to bring in the summer, come into the team, and suddenly United go and just blitz every opponent in front of them because they are so confident. Maybe still we have that second string that isn't good enough, but you still see the first team playing absolutely incredible football. It's not a fantasy I think will happen, but I can imagine it happening. On the flip side, though, still the same players come in. United have those stages where they play very well, and then when they get to they got to the team at the bottom, they struggle to break them down. They can't get a result. So on the flip side, maybe then you can judge it. He's had half a season. This is his second full season as United manager. Mourinho had 2.5 seasons as United coach. Van Gaal had 2 years as United coach, and he was only sacked because Mourinho was available and the fans were tired of the boring football. And I think you'd agree, you guys. We don't want to go back to that boring football with any of our managers. I don't care what their name is, what they've achieved elsewhere. This job is bigger, in my opinion, than any other job you will take on. So if you can't understand the task that is in front of you, if you want to be the United manager, you can't understand the task that's in front of you and the weight of expectation that is on your shoulders the minute you step in the door, then you shouldn't be considered for the job.
Ahmed, just to cut you short there, sorry. There's a legit argument to be made that this is actually the best United squad since Alex Ferguson retired.
Yep.
To be very honest, I mean, we can afford to, earlier in the season, we could afford to bench Edison Cavani, who is one of the greatest in our generation. We could afford, even till now, we can afford to bench Alex Telles, a left back that has, contributed to over 50 goals in the last 5 seasons at Porto. So there's a legit argument to be made that this squad was actually better than a lot of the squads the previous managers had. I mean, under Luis Van Gaal, we can remember there was a period that he had to make do with players like Cameron Borthwick Jackson, Paddy McNair. Those are the names in United team, and so many of us, we expected that those players would become good players. But in all fairness, do the players that are not supposed to get near the squad at all, because at that time, Van Gaal was not really backed, to be honest. Yes, we got a lot of signings wrong, but I mean, I just feel earlier at that time, we're trying to adapt to the loss of Sir Alex Ferguson and I mean, if Ole had come in that time, I mean, we would have been singing a different song right now. The job as in 2016, the Man United job in 2016 is way more difficult than the Man United job in 2021 because we now have experience as fans, we now have experience as a club to deal with the loss of Sir Alex and whatever rubbish that happened in those previous times. So I just feel now we actually have a better squad. I mean, look at the defense. Yes, the defense is not as good as we expect it to be, but we have a couple of players there that were big money signings from Premier League clubs. We are Premier League proven players. We look at the attack as well. So I just feel previous managers, they had a lopsided teams. Though we still have one now because right now we don't have a right winger, which is just shameful, But still, in those previous, I mean, we can attest to the fact that so many of us, and Ahmed, I'm very sure you can agree with me that under Mourinho, you expected him to improve players like Andreas Pereira. We all sang songs that Tahith Chong was going to be in the future, was going to be the next Ryan Giggs. But unfortunately, he didn't turn out to be that. I mean, we played for over 2.5 years. We played with two failed wingers as our fullbacks in Ashley Young and Valencia. But now we have Luke Shaw, we have Alex Telles, we have Roman Bissaka. So honestly, I feel it has to do with the fact that now we have a far better squad than we had previously. That's what I feel.
I agree with you, Des, there, because I think we all went through a very hard time watching wingers as fullbacks in our team. I admire the fact that he lasted so long at Man United and did the job because simply no one else could, or we didn't facilitate for players that were good enough, or even the board didn't go out to buy these players at fullback. For Valencia Young to take that flack on for so long, I admire that, but they had problems with their game. They're both, as attacking players, incapable of doing things as defenders, which I understand is why Oli let both of them go in the end. Ashley Young, obviously, for me, I never forgave him after what happened against Barcelona, because that, for me, was the point of which where it changed my perspective on him. And even though he was, at the time, the United captain, which I found scandalous, I don't know why he was appointed captain. He still had a role to play as the left back in the team. There was 1 or 2 good games, I guess Liverpool and the City game as well. He did okay. Outside of that, it's because Luke Shaw was not high on confidence as he is now. He would play in those games. Well, I don't miss them playing in those games. I don't miss them. I love the fact now we have a solid team. You are right, Des. This is the best United team we've had since Ferguson left. I think we have a foundation here. We have something that is almost complete, albeit we are, let's say, as we've discussed in the week, we are 1 or 2, 3 players maybe short of the perfect team. And I'm hoping if the board show faith in Oli and give him one more season, then he will get, and they give him what he wants. More importantly, they give him what he needs, then we'll see something. But the only way I can see Oli losing his job is if he cannot keep United consistently in the top 4. Like I said, the margin of error is so thin with Manchester United. So you can only make so many mistakes before you're axed. And I think this cannot be an easy line to trade on for any manager, no matter who it is. There's been so much flack that's been taken from outside of Manchester United about the club because of certain things that they don't do right, such as make the correct signings or bring in the players or make the players motivated enough for games such as today. So I feel like with Oli, there's a level of calm around the club. There's a patience now compared to before with Mourinho. Mourinho was more or less rushing everything. He was trying to get everything done. Only time we saw him look really composed and prepared for the task that he had in front of him was when he was there in his first season and brought in the Mkhitaryan, Pogba, Ibrahimovic, and he brought all those guys in. They all were brilliant signings at the time. That looks like the start of the spine of a team. He was trying to build a strong spine. United win the Europa League and get into the top Champions League. He brings in the Emmanuel Matis. Another sign that the spine is getting stronger. He asks for a centre-back, gets Victor Lindelof. Maybe not the ideal choice at the time. He could have gone and got a better defender. And obviously, we see it now with why in hindsight, Lindelof shouldn't be the centre-back we want him to be, because he's not capable of dealing with an aerial threat or being physical enough against his opponent. Hence, the targets we have in front of us now. With Van Gaal, he had a few difficulties with the team because when he came in 2014, already he saw so many problems with that team. Aging, first of all, some of the players. Some of the talent were like not United standard. And he brought in, actually, you know what? The signings were not particularly his fault. United brought in Di Maria and Falcao. The board signed those players, not him. So it clearly didn't work out with those two. And Edward Wood's fantasy Galactico idea was canned, obviously, clearly, because the team were not benefiting from these two signings. And we were just poor that season, albeit scraped into the Champions League just to get knocked out in the group stage next season. So what's the point, really? What's the point in that? What's the point in sitting there watching an abject team struggle in I think, a group which you should get out of in that season? Van Gaal took criticism that year for not getting United out of the group stage. And then for Liverpool to knock us out in the Europa League was an even bigger disgrace for me, because you can't let a team of Jurgen Klopp's been at the job for a few months, but you still let him get a result against United at Old Trafford. You go and put a poor performance at Anfield. Even still, that for me just crossed the line with Van Gaal. I thought boring football, not capable of getting the team to play good enough. And I think losing to Midtjylland as well was another point where we thought he's not good enough to be the manager, because he's letting a team that are, in all honesty, Danish football is League One standards, because the teams aren't the best in Denmark. To lose to them, that also tells you that we had a problem. So sure, Van Gaal had problems, but he didn't help the cause by not playing the right players or getting them to play convincing and good enough football. He thought of his own philosophy, maybe more for himself over the team. And I think that's something we, as fans, cannot accept. We can't accept the manager to, not give them a clear identity. All we know is passing around the back, through the middle, losing possession. The other team come forward, score 2 goals, and comfortably sit back and do nothing until United struggle to put the ball in about 80,000 times. I can't know. As a man, I can't have that. This is the best period United have had since Ferguson has retired. If we renege or go back on this, then we will struggle for years to come, I think. I really do. Because the more we focus on the fact the manager is the sole problem with this, and not just the players, because they get as much of the blame as the manager does. I don't mean everyone, as we've discussed today. Some of these players in this team are not good enough to carry the burden of playing for United, regardless of price tag and regardless of who they played for before now. Some of these players should take on this stress of us fans. Understand that we have, as ourselves as fans, big expectations, big ambitions, and hopes that must, more or less, we want them to be fulfilled. And that has to begin on the pitch before we look at off the pitch. And today, on the pitch, it didn't look like these players were motivated enough. I do, however, have a little sympathy. You did play 120 minutes in the FA Cup on Tuesday night, and that's exhausting. Not ideal, especially against West Ham United, who didn't give you the most, freedom that you'd like. You're not expecting your opponent to just open the gates and let you score as many as you want. They will make it hard for you, and that's what and I'm sure United will have that in their minds for the future games against Leicester in the cup and in the bigger games in the league. But today has shown us we still have problems. Yes, the manager has some of the blame. Maybe more than what most will think I have, in terms of sharing the blame as to why we're doing so badly. I think some of the players have to take that as well, and they need to buck up their trend quickly, because these games get harder and harder and harder the further we go in the season. If we keep committing to, if we're committed to all of this, that's just the FA Cup, the league, and the Europa League, I doubt we're going to do all of it. There will be a point this season a tactical decision like we had last season with the FA Cup to sacrifice that, albeit we played badly, we should have won the game anyway with the team we put out. It might be a tactical decision again, which we sacrifice something for the greater good. I think the best thing we could do, secure top 4, go for the trophies, and then focus on the summer. Instead of just sitting here and moaning week in, week out about how poor the performances are. Just go out and do it. Go out and win your games. Go out and pick up the results against the bigger sides. And then in the cup times, play it like you have nothing to lose. Because these games are different to the Premier League. You have to act like you're underdogs again. Because when they were underdogs, they played much better. They were so much more confident. And that's a team who had a purpose. When you're told you are not as good as the other team, they go out and show them up. So I want that mentality to be instilled in these players. At the moment, they're not acting like they are backs against the wall. They're not acting like they're under pressure enough. They're taking that on, and it's letting them, it manifests in their mentality and in their performances. So this will continue if they don't get on with winning games more frequently than they should do. So a lot of this will fall on Ollie, but I still have a firm belief a number of these players must also have some of the blame before you look at the manager. So on the pitch, sort it out. When it comes to the touchline, things need to improve in some way in case so we don't get sucked in to that top 4 race. Because I know we are far too error prone after last season. Lessons have to be learned from there. After Southampton, West Ham, we dropped so many points in the final few games. It showed that we struggled over the line at the end. We struggled over the line. Once you earn qualification to the Champions League, push for the cups. Then get that winning mentality in these players' heads. Understand that this is what it takes to win a trophy. If we win one, great. If we win both, even better. We have a platform. We have something to build upon. Rivals would be worried about United again. That's also something you need to consider. We need to be a fearless, ruthless winning machine. To do that, we have to act like one. We're not there yet, but it takes time for that to happen. So, in terms of from my opinion, that's the Ollie in sort of thing. The Ollie out sort of thing, he, as I've said, is on a very thin line of margin of error. He can only make so many mistakes or have so many bad days like today. Because there is that feeling in the back of your head. Maybe the board are a bit more impatient than we think, and they will want to pull the trigger and ask someone more established to clean up the mess. I can see the idea as to why he shouldn't be, like to other fans, why he shouldn't be the manager after this season. Because as it's so good now, this team, if someone else comes in and then brings in the players that we think he will bring in that will strengthen the defense and our attack, I think this may also need a bit of smart buying because I don't think you have that much money. We have so much, yes, but to spend in one window, we haven't got a lot. If he brings in the players that his philosophy wants, his philosophy needs, I should say, then maybe that could become a better setup. Could increase United's productivity in the final third, etc., etc., etc. But yes, Ollie's on a very thin line, and there are managers who are looking at Old Trafford thinking this is my opportunity to really prove that I am one of the best managers of all time. Allegri and Simeone are good examples because Simeone is at Atletico now and he's winning the league with them, albeit against even though La Liga is not seen as a highly competitive league some years, this year it's definitely more competitive because of Atletico's consistency and the fact that the two major teams are struggling to keep up with that this season. So they're definitely feeling the burn a bit. You've also got, I can't ignore that, Sevilla as well are doing very well. They've lost once in 19 games under Lopetegui since they won the Europa League last season. That team could really be a threat to them later on. So Atletico are making the best of a bad situation with Real Madrid and Barcelona. And I think Sevilla with Lopetegui can get better and better as years come down the line. So I think Lopetegui as a manager can't be underrated here because he was at Real Madrid. He left to do the Spain job. He left Spain to do the Real Madrid job and saw the pressure on him instantly. That wasn't ideal. That's something I have a bit of reservation about him. Can he take on the big job again? Who knows? But with Simeone, Good system, good team there. He has a foundation he's built for years with Atletico Madrid. And I think this is what fans neglect to do when it comes to looking at Oli. Things Simeone has taken, since he took the job, I think it was in 2011, he has waited the best part of 8 to 9 years to have the team playing the way it is now. It takes a long time to be as consistent and as proactive and as more or less as good as Atletico are this season. It takes them a long time. They won the league against Barcelona on the last day of the season. It took big balls to do that, to get a draw at the Nou Camp to win the league. It takes big balls to do that. It's more like a cup final, that game. And he took that team down and made them mentally strong, determined, didn't allow mistakes to happen. And they won the league. He could do it again this season. Allegri is a serial winner with Juventus, but Serie A as a league at the time was easy to dominate because once you have a team that not only spends a lot, but also has quality in the team already, then you are looking at a team that will go on years and years to come as the dominant force in Italian football. Juventus are that. And I think he's achieved way too much in his career already. And I think the next best thing, yes, could be that he comes to United and tries to enforce his style of play on this team with the way that it is now. I don't know personally. If it happens, it happens. But as I said, Oli's on a very thin margin of error. If he makes one too many more mistakes, then it becomes so much that they will axe him.
I do not think Allegri would want to take the United job. I think Allegri is one of those managers that always go for the perfect jobs, perfect environment, perfect board.
Plus,
that the structure.
Sorry, Des, just quickly before you continue your point, I wanted to stress that very quickly. The board as well need to be confident in the person they're picking. They can't just go out and pick a random, hobo off the street or a manager who's not managed for a long time. The right person needs to come in if Oli doesn't get it right. So please take that into consideration.
Yeah. Like I was saying, I think Allegri is one of those managers that would always go for the club with the perfect structure. I mean, he has just managed Milan and Juventus, and when he managed Milan were the strongest team in the Serie A. When they had the Ibrahimovic, Thiago Silvas of this world and all that. Then he moved to Juventus as well. Juventus at that time were also the strongest team in the land. So I do not see him coming to United where there are question marks about the board, question marks about the structure, about our recruitment and all that. And I think he's up there with Pep Guardiola in those managers that always go to the perfect environments and the perfect structure. So I do not think there's no way he's going to come to United and take over United. And there was something you said about Simeone. You said Athletic gave Simeone chance to to put in his mentality and all that. But in 2011, the Atletico team or the Atletico Madrid that Simeone met when he took over was not they were not the Atletico team right now. I mean, they're not as big as they are now. I think Simeone is 50% of the reason why Atletico Madrid are the Atletico Madrid that they are now. He actually built them to what they are now. I mean, they've not gotten to a Champions League final before until 2014 when Simeone lost against Real Madrid. That was the first time, and also winning the La Liga in period where Ronaldo and Messi were at their prime. So Simeone is a really top manager that actually built Atletico from maybe who can equate them to a side like Everton. They were not really a superpower, but they were just below them, below that level. So I think Simeone has really done very well. And why United fans will not give Ole, or some United fans will not give Ole that chance, but you would want them to give Ole that chance because United is actually a superpower. No matter how anybody wants to spin it, there's no club that is talked about more than United in the whole of Europe and probably the whole world. So that shows that we are still relevant, even if we've not won a title in almost a decade. So yeah, that's probably why fans will not be willing to give Ole say 10 years, to build the squad to build the team to where you want the team to be. Yeah.
Mehdi?
I think if we do get rid of Oli, I want Eric Ten Hag or Poch. one of them two, because for me, Eric Ten Hag, he turns average players and he makes them look 10 times better than what they are. Like what he's done with the centre back shows. He's a good talent, but he's turned him into not world class, but he's performing at a very high standard week in, week out, and he's doing that with the whole team. Even Haller, look at his stats for Ajax now. I know Ajax is the Dutch league. It's not a very good league, but he's making these players look 10 times better than what they are. Haller was a flop at West Ham, and he's made him look very good at Ajax. So I think if we were to sack Oli, I don't think we will sack Oli if he wins a trophy or regardless. But I'd like Poch or Eric Ten Hag.
Okay. I have a follow-up question to your point, because remember we've covered quite a lot in regards to the balanced argument on Oli in and Oli out today. With regards to sacking the manager, what for you do you consider to be an offence where they decide to say that's it for us with him? That's what I'm asking you. You've heard what I think, so I want to hear what you think.
If we finish top 4 without a trophy, then I think he has to go.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've gone, nearly 4 years without a trophy. And I think someone asked me on Twitter, they were like, would you rather be playing boring football and win trophies or play good football but win no trophies? I'd rather win trophies than play boring football, because at least we're still getting silverware. Like, under Mourinho, it wasn't pretty, but he won us a Europa League and league title. So that's my opinion. But I think if he finishes top 4 but doesn't win a trophy, I think he'll get sacked. I think he should get sacked, but what the board do?
Well, I think, to be honest, to be fair to Ole, he has actually brought a sense of calm to United. There's no doubt about that. And if we eventually finish this season in top 4 and we don't win a trophy, it wouldn't be a bad thing to tell Ole and just tell him, hey, you have actually come into United and you have sort of steadied the ship. The players are kind of not, they didn't regress compared to the way you met them. Maybe a few players regressed, but the general squad in total, I mean, they kind of improved. It wouldn't be a bad thing with bringing someone to continue what he has left behind. So if he doesn't win a trophy, it wouldn't be a bad thing. It would not be a bad thing if the board eventually tells Ole to leave. But if they tell him to continue, it will also not be a bad thing. I for one, I would give him one more season. I mean, back him, give him a right winger, give him another centre back. Since Maguire cannot do the job of being a leader, give him another centre back. Maybe give him a backup to Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Just make him okay. Oh, and also replace Nemanja Matic. I mean, we are crying for a proper DM. We don't have a proper DM in that team right now. Fred and McTominay, no matter how they do the job, they can only do the job, but they are not DMs. Just give him these players, and eventually, if we still flatter to deceive and we are still finishing 3rd and 4th and crashing out of Champions Leagues in the group stage, maybe finish in the Europa League stages in the semi-finals and all that, then you can ask him. But for now, I still feel it won't be a bad thing if we give Ole another season.
The reason why I think he needs another year is because he's built them up to this point where they're now just good enough to be in the top 4. So we are now only a top 4 team. How do we take the next step? How do we become a title challenger? How do we go on and prove that we are not scared of Manchester City? Because right now we're still scared of Man City. They are not. Look, at the end of the day, they are seen as a team that have, let's say, cheated their way to winning the league. I mean, for lack of a better word, they more or less cheated their way to winning the league because they haven't had a proper philosophy. It's taken them £1 billion and 12 years of monogamy and luck, a little bit of luck maybe, to get from a mediocre team to being title contenders in 3 years. And then when they get the chance to win the league, they're consistent enough. The manager's okay. He's not the best, but he manages to get the best out of the team to fight for the league. United make a lot of mistakes. take that in consideration. Lots of mistakes were made by United that season, and City win the title. Since then, they've pretty much bought the league every year since. Maybe the only league I really think that they legitimately won was the season when they finished on 97 points. That year, they had to earn the title because of how good Liverpool were and consistently stressed them out into not making another mistake, losing or drawing any more than they did. Only the one defeat that season as well. Any more defeats or draws they picked up would afford them to lose the lead. And Liverpool being as consistent as they were at that time, well, that would have offered them the title. It went down to the final day. It was that close. So, reality is that was the best City team. That 2019 side won the league is the best team they've had up to this point. They literally sacked off the next season because I think they were struggling with injuries and put an effort in to try and just stay in the top four and not have any more problems while they solve other problems. Pandemic didn't help. This season started badly because of Europe, like we have. No preseason. I think both us and City had bad starts to the year. But somehow, both teams recovered and have now gone first and second. The teams were literally no preseason, first and second. So, reality is, we can still challenge them, but we're not scaring them. We're not making them fearful of us. And that's more or less down to the fact they have Guardiola, have talent on their team that can turn up on a good day. So, with United, they need to give Oli a chance to really catch them, to properly catch them. Give them an incentive. Make this season a good one. Finish well. And then get to next season. Get the players in. Bring the talent you need to be able to enhance the squad so that they are able to win those games against those bottom six sides by convincing margins. As I've said, we are just a few players away. And if he gets that backing, I think we are going to be closer to City than we are now. Maybe even ahead of them. I'd like us to be first by far, but to do that, we need to act like a team that are serious about the objectives we set out at the start of the season. Our objective this season was to get top four. I didn't expect us to be second at the point of the season that we were at this point of the season. I didn't expect it, but we are here, and now it's just about getting the primary objective of getting the Champions League sorted, and then with time left in the season. Once it's mathematically secure and we have done well in the cup competitions, we go for the cups and finish the job there. That's what I want. And if Oli builds that foundation, he's got a platform, not only for signings, because you need that Champions League football, which is the most important thing, to attract these players to the club. You also need that weight of, I've just picked up 2 trophies this season, or 1 trophy this season. And I'm starting to strengthen this. I want to strengthen this team. Here's who I want. Now that I've achieved the goals you set out for me, now I need you to come up with the money I need to go and buy these players. That's all he's asking for. It's not a lot, but once he does his part, he expects the board to do their bit. And as long as they do their bit, that's all I can hope for. Once he achieves it, but we have to get there first. So. We've talked so long now, but it's a really sensitive topic, the managerial position at Old Trafford. You can see how hard it is for us as fans to come up with, for some it's an easy decision. Like for Mehdi, he's fully out. He's pretty much certain that someone else is capable of pushing United that little bit further to get ahead of Man City. I understand that. People have their opinions. People have the right to class to make their point heard as to why they think this is better for my club rather than what's going on now. Des, I think you have a more balanced point of view in terms of the managerial position. You see the criticism. You see why you want him. You think someone else is better there too. But you also notice that the club are calm, a lot more patient now. They are a lot more centered around Oli's projects and giving him a chance. But obviously, the error, as I said, very thin margin of error. So obviously you can offer the opportunity to someone else and he can't step up to the mark. Yeah. So whereas for me, I'm all in. And I stand by that. I've been all in since he took the job, and I'm all in now. The trouble is, though, I will point it out if he makes mistakes or is making this team struggle in games that they shouldn't be struggling in, and he will be criticised for it. I criticised them against Sevilla for 2 reasons, because that for me was a turning point. We did well to get to the semi-final of the FA Cup. We made a decision because the league was so tight and we had the opportunity of winning a trophy. Which one would be prioritised more, winning the cups or going for the league? In the end, we went for the league. It benefited in the end, but he had to sacrifice the FA Cup. It wasn't something he wanted to do. I think in his heart of hearts, he wanted to play the strongest team and put us through to the final. But he took the calculated risk of leaving the FA Cup and going for the Premier League. When we went into the Europa League, we were the best team in the competition, left in that competition. The only reason why Sevilla are so, were at the time ignored a lot by people, but would still be noticed is because they're so successful in the competition. However, the overall planning for that game was not good enough. The overall performance in that game was not good enough. And the fact that I keep stressing it, that the defenders in the moment when the balls are flashing across the front of them into the box, they cannot defend them. They find it like it's a bouncing grenade when the balls go into the box. They cannot clear them. And it is a massive, massive problem that we've had since that game, dealing with that ball into the box in front of the defence, which needs to be worked on. And they'll have to improve on that. But this is why, obviously, I'm happy to criticise the manager when things go wrong, because he has equal share of the blame and will have to accept that when things go wrong, he is responsible for it and must improve. So that's basically how I see it. And I'm hoping it gets better. I was going to ask this for his man of the match, but he's hopped off early, so I'm sorry for making him wait for so long. Mehdi, I said McTominay was man of the match for me. Who was your man of the match?
I'd probably say Luke Shaw.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think
Luke Shaw.
Put a foot wrong. I think he's been our most consistent player this season. Maybe Bruno, but I think Luke Shaw today was perfect.
Okay, right. Well, I'll agree with you there. I did pick Scott because he all-round game today. He didn't do, like you say, he didn't put too much.
McTominay didn't do anything wrong, but I think just Luke Shaw, because he's been so consistent, and today, obviously, you got the assist as well.
Yeah, agree. So, I mean, my decision was 1 hour 42 minutes ago. I picked the man of the match. Might change it, but yeah, I'll stick with what I have for now, just based on he's played well recently. But I will agree with you. Luke Shaw should get credit for the goal and also for being overall recently being in good form. Oh dear. Okay, so that's it from us. Again, Mehdi, I really appreciate you coming on. We've talked so much today about the managerial position. It was something I wanted to bring up because obviously this result has again demonstrated United's problems in trying to deal with the opposition, the bottom 3 sides we've had this season. And we've got to highlight a lot of things, and hopefully the future is a little bit better. But speaking of the future, I've got a busy week this week. I have taken the reins of Traffic Talk. So I have the preview and the review for the Sociedad game. It's a very special one. My reviews are a little bit different to the ones Cam do. I dissect a little bit more about what United need to do against the opponents in Europe and our opposition. Now, I'm about to go and watch their game against Sociedad's game against Getafe. They won today, but there are little things about that team that will fascinate you, and I'll bring that up in the preview this week, so please tune into that. And if you want to see more of this, hit like and subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter, and also share the video out as well, as we're aiming to get 200 subs. If you get us to 200 subs, we may have something planned for you. But yeah, appreciate Mehdi you coming on. I'm going to get a glass of water and relax and watch some other football, because I know there are teams winning, which I don't want to look at their scores right now. Not my kind of cup of tea, especially them just wallowing in our misery. So cheers, everyone. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Until then, adios.